Andrew Martin. I am the Group Publisher at Disruptive Tech Asia, and I'm really pleased that today I'm going to have the chance to talk to Mr. Tarun Kumar Kalra, who is a Regional Vice President at Apptio. When it comes to making investment decisions and purchasing decisions on technology, sometimes, even in large companies, it's been a pretty hit and miss affair. The tools and the technology and the insights to really make smart purchasing decisions haven't really been there. But Apptio are all about making trusted investment decisions about your technology. So I'm really pleased to be speaking to Tarun today about what Apptio are doing. And so with that, let me come and ask you an initial question just to get some background on what you do. And so maybe the good starting point would actually be your understanding, or from your experience, what are the biggest challenges when it comes to large enterprises, when it comes to just managing their IT?
So I have been engaged with this industry. I've been privileged to be in the industry for a little over 2 decades. And I have worked very closely with enterprises and organizations across Asia Pacific and globally, and have worked and seen them how they have executed and implemented their technology transformation and digital transformation journeys. What's interesting to see is how the role of the IT department has evolved over these years. It's always been an important function. However, from being a support function, it has clearly evolved to be a strategic enabler. And this means the challenges in front of the departments and the CIOs have also altered. It's more about managing the human capital, managing the agility, adaptability, and relevance of the departments as they continue to engage with the business heads and the business teams who are demanding more bang for the buck of the investments they put. And the IT department is probably trying to understand clear articulation of the cloud transition value proposition as well. So multiple aspects grappling with the IT organizations as they continue to gain more relevance and importance in this dynamic ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree that technology, and particularly the IT department, really has evolved, particularly in large companies, from being a support function to really enabling and sometimes being part of the business itself. So with that said, I guess the next question would be, why is it then that the traditional way of making technology investment decisions no longer seems to actually be the right way of doing it? Could you go into that a little bit for us?
So I think I would like to answer that question a bit differently. What we have seen is that standard traditional decision making is probably no more relevant, and not because it's very traditional or old school, but the environment has changed. So what I would say is decision making has to keep pace with the requirements and the solutions that are available out in the market. Most of the decision making is now focused more on the ability to transfer clear CapEx spend onto OpEx, to ensure that there are flexibilities around licensing arrangements when we are talking with vendors. And also there is flexibility to scale up and scale down the investments as and when required. We clearly see the digital transformation has made the organizations more nimble. Their expansion plans, their country expansion, their human capital expansion, their country expansion, they all are dependent on technology's ability to support that. So if we were to look at a very standard enterprise solution decisioning, taken in with a very narrow thought process or mind only of a couple of years of ROI on their investments, it's probably a traditional old school way of thinking. It's to be seen the impact it would drive on the expansion plans and how it could give a faster return on investments. So I would say traditional decision making, nothing wrong with it. It just needs to adapt to the way the industry's ability to offer those solutions to large enterprises has evolved over a period of time.
Yeah, again, I think that really helps to crystallize the point you're making when you spoke about that move from CapEx to OpEx, because even though I'm not expert in it, even I can see that as you move more of your spend on technology into OpEx, it is going to change how you have to then think about and make those decisions. So that really does help understand why this, or part of this evolution is taking place. Are you able to actually go a little deeper and perhaps give us some actual examples of the benefits and the savings that people can make when they start adapting their technology investment and management decisions?
Yeah, and I think this question becomes a lot more relevant with the changes that are happening in the last few weeks or the last months, with a lot of people talking about recessionary trends and some recessionary clouds on the horizon. Now, what I always say is, while we have seen a consistent growth in the expansion of technology investments, I was reading a report which clearly said that in Southeast Asia, there would be a 25% compounded annual growth rate for cloud spend, with Singapore leading the way. However, what's to be seen is, I see there would be tightening of belts, and organizations would have to do more with the existing budget already allocated. So this means cost saving and cost optimization will come out right in the front. Now, Apptio is very well positioned to work with our enterprise clients and accounts to help them clearly do that. On an average, we have seen we would drive in between 15 to 20% cost savings. And we have seen the trends that for some accounts which have a clear articulation of on-prem and cloud spend, we see the return on investment on our solution to be 8 months. And in about 3 years' time, the clients get about 10 times the return. So to put it in perspective, we could drive about 15 to 20% annual saving. ROI is about 8 months. And over a period of 3 months, you get 10 times the investments that you made in Apptio. So it's a very good, quick to prove value solution that we offer to our clients.
Yeah, thanks again, Tarun. I think the thing that I really picked up from that was your point about using the methods that you recommend to get more from your existing budgets. I think that's something that's really critical for a lot of large IT departments out there. But that said, I guess that this is not just all about cost savings. And that being the case, what are some of the other benefits that your clients or potential clients stand to gain from enhancing and modernizing their approach to IT management and IT investment decisions?
I think it's a good thing because, Apptio, we always believe that we should not be looked as a cost saving tool, because then we are being looked at in a very narrow perspective. So what I do when I have my conversations with CIOs and other tech leaders across, we always try and put in the strategic output of our solution, our ability to build a complete view of the technology spend, use our machine learning algorithms to provide recommendations of how certain workloads can be moved by giving them the adequate risk profiling to different environments, which would help them optimize cost. So here, if you would see, I have shifted from cost saving to cost optimization. What that really means is we are able to free up budgets from run the organization to be allocated to change the organization. We have seen on an average, our clients allocate or reallocate about 4 to 5% of the run the organization budget to change the organization budget. Now, all this has come to us with the confidence of having worked with about 1,800 clients globally, where about 650 billion worth of technology spend is routed through our systems. So we have a clear understanding how we are able to provide the right tools, the right framework for CIOs to understand the clear articulation, the clear usage, and the clear utilization of the spend they are doing. And to reinforce this point, I will give probably 2 examples. We work closely with one of the world's leading consumer goods company, and they started working with us with having no visibility to about 70% of their technology spend. It was almost like a black box for them. With Apptio solution, they started getting more visibility on how this technology cost is allocated to which service lines, to which products, which departments. And in a very short span of time, it had totally flipped. They had 70% visibility to how that technology cost was being allocated to services. So this is how we help them build a sense of where are they spending, are the right decisions being made. Similarly, we had a global banking client which was looking to reduce its unit cost to serve its clients. Now, in the digital era, a lot of investments have been made in technology infrastructure, and banks are looking to optimize the unit cost to serve their each client for each service touch point. Now, with using Apptio solution, they were able to increase 40% the utilization and usage of their services, without a commensurate increase in cost. So when you look at both these examples, it's not about cost reduction. It's about having a good visibility about where you are spending and how you could reallocate areas of overspend, over provisioning, overutilization. And our solution sits and works across on-prem solutions, cloud solutions, and is able to ingest information from cloud spend, on-prem cost, and even non-IT costs like human capital costs as well. So this is how we drive our value proposition to the clients. And most important part, which I always encourage the CIOs to look at, is this tool provides them the ammunition. It provides them the dashboard. It provides them the information to have that strategic discussion with the CEO and with other stakeholders. As I said earlier on to you, the technology departments are evolving and they are more strategic enabler. But for them to be there, they need to have the right tools and information. I was recently in a conversation with a CIO of a leading pharmaceutical company globally. And when I told them these are the informations that you could possibly have, and he was immediately to think through and say, okay, now I can make a business case around this and go for it. Sometimes the lack of information inhibits you from doing strategic initiatives. So our value proposition always has been cost optimization, cost rationalization, cost reallocation to make sure more money is spent on strategic initiatives. And there is a clear accountability of how each dollar is spent, allocated to each product, department, service line. So that's how we look at Apptio.
Yeah, very, very interesting, Tarun. I think that there's an awful lot of IT executives that are wrestling with that question that you really nicely encapsulated about how do you move from this process of running the organization to changing the organization. I think it's something that's really important that a lot of people are very interested in being able to do. And with that in mind, I think it brings me to my last question today, which is really just asking you exactly how does Apptio help customers to actually transform the way they make their IT investment decisions and their IT financial management in general?
I think I will talk a bit about technology business management in here, which is an industry accepted framework of best practices where we have multiple CIOs across our customers and client base globally contribute to this framework to ensure that we are using the best policies, frameworks, guidelines to help organizations channelize and optimize their costs and investments. So TBM Council is one such platform where all these brains come together and we have a good value proposition discussion around that. Riding on this framework is where Apptio works very closely with our clients. And as I said, about $650 billion worth of technology investment is routed through our platforms. And our customers continue to see this value in cost optimization across our solutions. So clients can work with us to derive these values.
Yeah, thanks again. I think that was really clear. It gave me a really good understanding of how Apptio go about helping their clients. I found it particularly interesting that you actually take information from such a wide pool of very experienced people to actually then almost embed best practice into what you do. That kind of brings us to the end of our time today, but before we actually wrap up, is there anything else that you'd like to say or let us know before we complete our conversation today?
And I think what I would say, these are very interesting times. There is a clear shift of technology infrastructure to the cloud. It is happening in multiple phases. There are some organizations which are bound by the regulatory environment to continue to work on-prem. However, with more clarity coming on data privacy, data regulation, and the cloud infrastructure being more readily and more robustly available, addressing the concerns of data security, data privacy, data hosting, I think there are a lot of organizations which are gradually shifting to the hybrid environment, and they are moving to the multi-cloud environment. Now, this creates a lot of opportunities for the increased technology spend to be monitored correctly so that right investment decisions are made. In Asia Pacific itself, we see a big growth and a shift happening to cloud. In Southeast Asia, we should be touching about 240 billion of cloud spend by the end of next year. These are the numbers that excite an organization like Apptio, because we are keen to come ahead, show this value proposition to our clients, to ensure they are better managing their costs and having that strategic seat on the table with the CEOs when those discussions happen. So our job is to continue to work with clients on that front. And another point I would like to reinforce is that the solution is uniformly accepted across industry segments. It's as relevant for an airline business as it is for a banking client, for a public sector organization, and it is about the CIOs optimizing their investments into this platform. So thank you for that.
Thanks again, Tarun. And I think that the final points that Tarun made around the fact that these best practices and approaches that they recommend and help clients with are not really dedicated to one single vertical. They really do work across pretty much any single company or industry that is running IT. I think that's really interesting. So once again, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate you spending time with us today. And if you'd like to find out more about Apptio, we have a lot more content on Disruptive Tech Asia. So please take a look. But I hope you enjoyed today's session. I certainly did. And until next time, have a good day.